The Insta360 Go 2 came out a couple weeks back, and Winston and I are really late to the party with creating a video for it. On release, there was a pretty severe issue with vibration in FPV footage, and that's what you guys care the most about. So we worked with Insta360 to make sure that this met the requirements that we needed to see to make a video about it. But don't worry, we've still been playing in the meantime. This camera is a beast. It's one of my favorite things to play with. And today we're gonna fly it around, drive it around on an RC car, and just have a good time showing you everything that the Insta360 Go 2 is all about. A couple of years ago, Insta360 came out with the Insta360 Go, and at the time, it was, and probably still is, one of my favorite cameras that I've ever played with. Despite the fact that it only recorded for about a minute, at least when it first came out, combined with the kind of not so great image quality of the video that came out of the camera, it still was a really unique way to be carrying something around that you could use to film daily things. And after a lot of work back and forth with Insta360, the FPV community encouraged them to release what they called FPV mode, which combined with the extra airflow of flying the camera around allowed it to stay cool enough to run for up to 5 minutes. That gave us the ability to have a really good stabilized HD picture, with the only sacrifice for it being a 20-gram camera. The two combinations of pretty good video, super light camera, and super good stabilization make for a really killer combination, especially for smaller drones or sub-250 drones or racing. And that's one of the many reasons that I love that camera. In addition, as a content creator and someone that wants to be filming things that are going around, the accessories and the opportunities that that camera provided were awesome. Now, Insta360 has come out with the Insta360 Go 2, and they've doubled down on the awesome features and accessories and things that you can use to make it an awesome creator tool, as well as also being a really good camera for FPV. So let's dive into all of the features of the Insta360 Go 2 and talk about why this is one of my new favorite things of all time. It might be my favorite camera that I've ever played with. In order to test out the Insta360 Go flow state, we wanted to give it kind of a bit of a tricky situation in which it has to perform with the anti-vibration. So we put it on this RC car and we came to like the roughest place we could think of just to see how good the footage comes out. So let's see what this looks like. So the Go 2 really is just this. It's this tiny little camera that shoots 1440p at up to, I believe, 50 FPS. And it will also shoot higher frame rates like 120 FPS or whatever at lower resolutions. But that like 1440, 30 FPS range is right where I like to play, and it looks surprisingly good for a camera this small. But for reference, this is the Insta360 Go 2 compared to a GoPro Hero 8, and this isn't even the 9, so you can already see that this is a much smaller device. This has its own battery, it's got a wireless charging contact in the back, and there's basically a button here on the front that starts and stops recording. You can use different combinations of like double taps and single taps to record different modes. But when you combine this camera with its little charging case, so now it's charging in there, there's a screen on board that allows you to change all of the settings of the camera, as well as change record modes and start and stop recording. So once the camera is connected, you can see that there's different settings inside of here that I can scroll through. And when I find the one that I want, let's say standard video, I can hit the record button, it starts recording there. You can see that the tail light on the camera starts. There's a tail light on the back of it that starts. And now I can pull this camera out and use it as a wireless remote for the camera. So I can take it, set it over here, and it's gonna be another shot for our video. So I've got it there. Now we have 3 shots for our video, and whenever I'm done with the shot, I just hit record, stops recording, and I'm now done. And so I have this kind of hands-off, hands-free thing that I can change all these settings, start and stop the record, and it's charging while it's in there. Out of the case, it records for about 30 minutes of the pro video mode, which is the most taxing mode that it's got. And in the case, it gives you 2 full charges after it's been charged to continue making content. One of my 2 only gripes for this entire camera are actually that the battery life is a little bit short, but if you're mindful of it, you can just use the USB-C on the bottom to just plug it into a battery bank whenever you're not using it and make sure that it stays charged. All of the footage that you record saves directly to the camera. It's got 32 gigs of onboard flash memory that you can transfer out either by USB-C, which you just plug it straight into the computer and it registers as a device to read, or you can connect it to your phone and use the Insta360 app, which is one of the biggest selling points of this whole thing. The Insta360 studio software is surprisingly good. I'd always wondered if it was going to be any good when I first started playing with Insta360 stuff, but it continues to get better and better, and Insta360 is very, very responsive to issues and things that come up. They talk and they want to make sure that it's good for FPV. Insta360 continually nods to the FPV community to make sure that their product supports our needs, right? FPV mode came out originally, like it's called FPV mode in the software. It's not even just like record for 5 minutes, it's FPV mode. And they continue to work with companies like Beta FPV or whatever and create products for their products to support us and to make more FPV related stuff. So for me, that's a huge help in terms of just thinking through how we can be using these technologies. One of the biggest issues with the original Insta360 was durability. If you got any scratch or anything on the lens on the Insta360 Go, it would show up in the footage and there was no way to recover from it. But in this version, they made this lens cap replaceable so that you don't, every time you get a little scratch on it, you're not totally SOL. You have the ability to get that fixed, swap that out for cheap, and then make sure that you can continue to record good, clean footage. Not only that, but they're gonna produce ND filters that replace the lens protector, and then you're gonna be able to shoot buttery, smooth footage even in the harshest of daylight. So now that we've given a bit of a camera overview, I wanna go through all of the awesome accessories alongside of the camera. The first is obviously the charge case, which we talked about what all the buttons do and how it works. But here's another feature of it. It has a friggin' tripod built into the case. This charger case is phenomenal. I'm in love with it. And it has these silly little looking tripod legs so that I can actually stand it up as if it is as its own tripod. So like, say I'm in New York City and I want to get a time lapse of all the crowds going by or the cars in traffic or something like that. I'm not carrying around a big tripod or anything. I just put the little tripod legs out, boop, start my time lapse and walk away. And it's got its own little tripod. It's so cute, look at it. Another thing that's awesome about the charging case is that it has a 1/4-20 thread mount in it on the bottom. So I'm able to mount it up on a tripod as if it was any other camera, like this Sony that we're filming with. It's able to just be mounted to tripods. In this case, it doesn't make sense to be using this massive tripod for this tiny little camera, but it proves the point of what it is capable of doing. And that allows us to do some dual purposes, like I could be running a time lapse while I'm filming my video, while I'm working on my phone, which is down here. Like it just opens up so many different options for me as a creator to play around with different things that this camera can do. One more mistake that you don't want to make with this is keeping them in the same pocket as your AirPods, because like I keep going in my pocket, I grab the wrong thing out. It's just like, that's AirPods, that's the thing. I mean, just don't put them in the same pocket. So if I set it down here on the table, this camera is now a perfect like tripod machine. So there's traffic over here, and I'm sorry if you guys hear them, but say I wanted to film a time lapse of all of the traffic going by, I can now put it into time lapse mode. It's going to use the battery from the case, but that's really cool because I don't have to carry around like a little Gorilla Pod or a little Joby tripod or whatever to get a cool time lapse of sunset or of traffic or of whatever's going on. Having this all built into one is awesome. But if I do want to put it on a tripod, there's still a 1/4-20 mount, which is like a standard camera mount, to make sure that we can mount this anywhere. I can mount it up here on Winston's camera or on a tripod or, you know, as part of a webcam setup. It's all put together in this awesome little case. All of the accessories that we're gonna show come with the purchase of the camera. So I got this little case that I keep all of my Insta360 stuff in, and boom. So let's just go through this in no random order. This first accessory is a hat/stand mount. There's a little grippy thing there and a swivel thing there. And it allows you to either mount it just like sitting on the desk like that, or you can clip it onto a hat. So I really like to put it on the bottom side of my hat, and then I can have it kind of look down at whatever it is that I'm doing. So if I take the camera out, because there's a magnet in the back of the camera, it'll sit in the case just like that, and now it's nice and secure. And one of the problems with the Insta360 Go, one, was that the magnet was reversible, and you can sometimes get things wrong. The magnet is not, like, you can't put it in the wrong way anymore, and it will help it stay in better. So now, I've got a head-mounted camera that, like, if I'm doing any, you know, point of view stuff, some travel, some, whatever you want to do. I don't need like a big old GoPro strap to put it all the way around my head and hold it in place. And it's honestly pretty, I mean, like right here, it's a little bit obstructing my view, but if I flip it up and put it up on top of the hat, pretty incognito, right? Nobody would know that I have a camera on my head. So that's enough of that accessory. Next up, we've got the GoPro labia mount. So this, so the standard GoPro clippy thing that you use for everything. So you got your GoPro mount, and then this is also magnetic, it'll stay in there. For FPV, I would suggest putting a battery strap around it or a rubber band or something, just like, because when you crash, it'll eventually work its way out. GoPro labia mount, really, really useful, especially for drones, for action cameras, whatever you got going on. And finally, just like, this is the cleverest thing to me, is they made this little pendant that you're intended to wear underneath your shirt without tassels, because that totally ruins your shot. And the magnet on the back just sticks to that pendant. So now you have this point of view body shot where, like, if you're, you know, going on a hike or like, so where my mind goes with something like this is that when I'm, you know, taking my drones out, I'm gonna go for a long range mission, I gotta hike into this spot, I can have this here, just push the little button, it starts recording, it gets the shot of like what's going on in that moment, and then I can just take it off, put it on the drone and go, or something like that. As someone that wants to tell stories as a creator, I think this combination of tools and assets with not just the charge case, but also the hat mount and the labia mount and all that stuff make for a really powerful ecosystem to get a lot of creative, cool shots at the touch of a button, rather than carrying around something like this, which, you know, has a place, a time and a place, and does some really cool stuff. This is a lot simpler than a 4-pound camera, you know what I mean? So the Insta360 Go 2, combined with all of the accessories, in my mind is one of the most fun cameras because of all of the unique things that you can do with the accessories, with the camera, and creating just different kinds of looks and feels for your videos. And there's this constant adage that the best camera that you have is the one that you have with you. And for me, I already carry this all the time. Like, I have my AirPods and I have my camera, my phone, and my wallet. That's, everything is in my pocket and it just stays there. And if I'm like, oh, I want to get a vlog moment, just pop this open, hit record. Hey guys, this is what's going on right now. Put it away. And for me, that's just an awesome feature, an awesome thing to have around. But again, I know that not everybody is trying to like vlog every single thing that's going on, so I totally get if that's not interesting to you. One last accessory is the pivot stand. The pivot stand just is kind of like another tripod, another way to mount the camera, and it can go a bunch of different ways. But what's interesting is that underneath this sheath is a sticky back that, here we go again. You can just re-stick every time. And now it's sticky again, and my mouth tastes really bad. But it gives you the ability to mount it. Like, I put it On my recent trip to California, I did it like this, and I put it to the window of the airplane, and I filmed a time lapse while we're taking off and landing. And it kind of shows this cool story moment of like, okay, now where they're popping up above the clouds, and then they go down and you see it hit the tarmac and land. And for me, like, that's a really cool feature to have. That's, again, just sitting in my pocket, and I can just, you know, without freaking out too many of the airplane passengers, just stick it to the window and get a shot like that. And then one final note, something that it's made a big improvement over top of the Insta360 Go 1 is that the audio is significantly better. It's still not the same as like me wearing this lavalier mic or the fuzzy mic that's on that other camera. If I'm just trying to get something quick, something where I'm not really trying to talk to the camera that much, having a little bit better audio is really, really powerful. So this is the audio from the lavalier microphone that I'm wearing. This is like, what, a $300 setup that is piped into the camera. And then here is the audio from the Insta360 Go 2, which I'm gonna bring a little bit, I'm gonna cheat it a little bit and bring it a little bit closer to my mouth because there is traffic right there and it's really loud. But like, this is how I would use it if I was like trying to do a vlog clip. It's like, hey guys, I'm out here in the woods trying to rip an RC car around, and I just had to tell you about this moment. So you can hear that the audio, while it's not perfect, is definitely serviceable.
I just wanted to do one more quick audio test, audio comparison in a much quieter environment. This is here in my studio instead of out next to traffic. So just FYI, that's a fuzzy Rode mic, video mic Go, video micro, I don't remember. And the Insta360, they're almost the same distance apart for this test. But I just wanted you to be able to hear the difference between the, there's a $100 Rode video micro. I'm talking to you about the camera, and now I'm going to switch over to the audio from the Insta360 Go 2, and this is what the audio sounds like from that, just comparing the difference between the Insta360 and that mic. But what I think you're going to notice is that the audio on that is still actually pretty good for what it is, comparing that it, doesn't have any kind of onboard mic. It's stuck in the back of that case. Like, there's not anything that amazing going on, but it still is very, very serviceable, something that I can use for quick pickup shots here and there.
Winston and I are a little bit late to the game with dropping our video on the Insta360 Go 2, and that's because we had seen a problem with vibrations being introduced to the footage after it was stabilized on drones. We've been working with Insta360, and they are coming out with a firmware that you can see in this video does not have that vibration anymore. So we just wanted to make sure that we got that, we just wanted to make sure that we were seeing the version of the product that we wanted to proclaim, because I love the camera for everything, including FPV. You guys are probably mostly interested in it for putting it on a little drone like this, the Emax Baby Hawk 2 HD. We wanted to hold off until we knew that the product was what we wanted it to be, not just for standard creative stuff, but also for FPV. So when I want to fly this, I take typically the little hat mount, and I can put it on this, for example, this Emax drone, and just put one zip tie through it, and it's ready to go. And then I have a fully angle adjustable mount for the camera, and the software that they offer, the Insta360 Studio, is able to stabilize the horizon no matter what angle the camera is looking at. So if I record right now, pointing the camera at Winston, and I'm turning it all the way around in pro mode, and no matter what I do, the camera is always upright. And that allows us to do some really cool stuff with how we mount this on FPV drones. I hope that you enjoyed our review of the Insta360 Go 2. This little camera is just my favorite thing in the world, and I hope that you enjoyed seeing how we are putting it to use, the ways we're thinking about using it. If you're interested in supporting this channel, you can use affiliate links in the description below to purchase this from Insta360. It'd be a big help for creators like us to continue to make content like this for you. If you're not interested, please still consider becoming a Patreon or a member of the channel. It's always a big help to be able to get out and make more content like this for you guys. But once again, Insta360 Go 2 is one of my favorite things in the world. I hope that you enjoyed this review of it, and stay flying. And stay flying. No! The jittery This is gonna suck.